So in this video I would like to discuss Mantic system preferences for the Lesser Evocation. So I would start with the simplest thing, which is a pendulum, and I would say that I had a great experience with pendulum, especially when it comes to yes-no questions. So when you are just beginning your spiritism practice or your Lesser Evocation practice, you would really end up with just yes-no questions, because you don't have your astral vision evolved to a point where you can hear some definitive answers. So yes-no questions are actually really great to verify the planetary correspondences of the spirit, and you should always do that because you don't want to communicate with someone you don't know. But when it comes to something more complicated than yes-no questions, pendulum actually becomes a bit trickier. So you can use a tool like that, which is a disc with all of the letters and numbers. I discussed it in one of the previous videos. But it also can be quite clumsy, especially if you're on the altar. You can see it quite well. So this is more for not the Lesser Evocation, but just you know, the least evocation, if I may say, where you just use your sigil, your candle, and an incense, and do it on the table without the circle, without the altar whatsoever. So next we have tarot cards. So tarot cards are absolutely great. For me, tarot is more like a map of the soul. It's not a good way to communicate with spirits, because the cards have way too much symbolism involved, and if you want some clear yes-no question, it could be actually tricky to understand. Because, for instance, if you have something like 10 of Swords, well, in general, for people who like only starting with tarot, they most certainly would know that 10 of Swords is a bad card in general. But if you know Kabbalah, if you know Kabbalistic correspondences, then you can tell that 10 of Swords is basically just an element of air represented in Malkuth. So, well, I cannot say that there is something way too bad about that. It's more like a consolidation of thought. So this can be this can be interpreted in a variety of ways. So in general, tarot cards, while you're doing evocative practice or spiritism practice, would give you very unclear answers, and you may want to actually confirm that using a tool like Pendulum. So combination of those two works really good. Then we have the runes. So I really love runes. I'm not using them quite often. I made these runes myself from the leather. So it doesn't require any sort of activation, like activation with blood or whatsoever type of thing you do to activate runes. I made them myself, so they are already energized with my potential. And I think that runes are way too blunt. So if tarot has way too much symbolism, runes are way too blunt, and I can't actually tell any yes-no type of runes if you ignore the fact of using reversed runes or mirrored runes or stuff like that. If you just using plain runes, it's pretty hard to define yes-no. Even if you receive something that's considered generally like bad, like maybe Isa or Nautis or Pert, runes like that, they still have quite rich symbolism to be interpreted. But nevertheless, even though runes have rich symbolism of tarot cards, especially Thoth tarot from Aleister Crowley, is way richer because of the color scheme. On the color scheme you can actually verify the correspondences, And moreover, you can verify correspondences because basically cards have correspondences, which is also a good thing. So I would put runes aside for lesser evocation at least, and I would consider using tarot cards and plain pendulum for yes, no, and verification. I would not use the disc. So these are my thoughts on Mantic system for lesser evocation. I think that Mantic systems are basically like languages. It never hurts to learn more. The more you know, the more symbolism you get. But yes, for the starters, I would consider just pendulum for yes, no. If you are a bit more advanced, you should use tarot and pendulum, because you want to make sure that when you talk with spirit, you actually understand each other, and you would have some meaningful dialogue. Thanks.